Hello, and welcome to our next episode of Session Share, the Coaches Podcast. My name's Craig Burtwhistle, and I have Lee Cosgrove on this as this week's guest. Lee is a UEFA B coach. He has had success with mentoring courses, cover coaches, futsal courses. He spent 5 years at Leicester City's developmental centre and spent over 25 years managing coaches, teams of all ages. He's the creator of one of my favorite Twitter or X, as we have to call it nowadays, pages, the Sunday Share. It's really great stuff, Lee. So, how are you doing today, mate?
I'm all right, Craig. Yes, very good. We've had a game this afternoon. But firstly, thanks for asking me on this. It's always good to talk football and football coaching. So, yeah, appreciate that. But yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Well, that's the thing. We talk about it anyway, so we might as well record it, right?
Exactly, yes.
It's really funny because we were having a conversation offline, Lee and myself, and I think I need to start recording these conversations up before we start, kind of a bit like stick to football. We were having a good bit of back and forward. So Lee, tell me a little bit about your background. What got you involved in football?
Well, I mean, just from the very, very early days, an English lad. I'm 56 now, so I'm knocking on a bit. But it was street football, as we all did in back in the 70s. Then you end up for school teams, and then I started at under 11 at them days. It was under 11 was the earliest you could play for a team called Elston Park, which I've since managed and coached there. And then you just kind of go through that and played up until I was about 40 odd, just playing. I was managing my local village team, doing what I thought was coaching at the time was probably a bit of YouTube stuff and stuff I'd seen myself when I was playing. I was fortunate enough to play under an ex-professional player, and he did some stuff. Looking back now, it was probably a bit old school there, but ended up when I had my son, and he was into football. Luckily, although I forced him, he then when he took it up, I thought, and my club at the time, which was called OB House in Leicester, they were very good at like promoting coach education. And I thought, well, let's go and do it properly. So started to do my coaching badges. And I think if you love the game and you want to know how it works and you want to break it all down, you want to get the knowledge so you can have a better understanding of the game. So it was always a thirst to get not the badges because of the badges' sake, but get the knowledge. So just love the game. I love the social side of it. I love the fact you can go anywhere around the world and you can talk football. You bump into people that even if you don't know them personally, they'll know somebody. So it's just a great world, and the game's forever changing. And I don't think you ever get to the end of your knowledge thinking, you know what, I think I've got everything. We have moments like that, I think, where you think, I think I'm okay now for where I am, but you just kind of keep going and keep going. It's just just enjoy the game and being around the game, watching it, coaching it and trying to help others and just have an impact really. I think once you stop playing, you kind of go into no man's land a little bit of wilderness where you're not relevant or important, and then you get the ump with that and think, I better start learning something else and try and get where I'm needed again. So yeah, it's probably two halves of playing and coaching, but they're blended at some stage. Where I was player manager and stuff like that. So, yeah, just love the game and never tire of it, really. You have moments where you think, well, maybe I need a rest from all this. And we all take rest from time to time mentally. But, just the love of the game and meeting people and connecting like we've just done and stuff like that. So...
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that you bring that up. Like, I feel like a lot of coaches get started that way. Like, we play, obviously, we get to a point where it's probably time to tie up the boots where we don't want to or whatever. So we get kind of like roped into coaching. We start coaching, and I think our first instinct is to do what we know. So we go back to the exercises our coaches did with us. And like, as someone who's a similar age to yourself, Lee, I'm in my early 40s. I witnessed that as well. I came from like a background where it was like more the old fashioned kick and run, and everything along those lines. And as I've grown older, and more wiser, hopefully wiser at least, I've tried to figure out what sort of coach I wanted to be, and like more possession based orientated and stuff like that. So one of the best compliments I was ever given, which was funny, was that a parent said to me, "Are you sure you're not Spanish the way you coach?" And I took that as a compliment, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think Albert Whistle doesn't really sound good, so I'm definitely English, that's for sure. When you were talking about your career and like when you finally said, you know what, the coaching is what I want to do, it wasn't just like a hobby now it was kind of like a passion. What motivated you to pick up your career?
Um, I think when you like kind of get into it, I think you're always looking above yourself and you're looking at other coaches and you look at they've done the level two. So UEFA B wasn't available when I started for grassroots, but you look at other coaches and you think, well, I tell you what, they look like I know what they're doing, and you kind of a lot of it, some of it's ego. Let's be honest. You want to be that. You want people to say you're a good coach. So if they've done that to you, then fair play. You want to prove that you know the game, because I thought I was a decent footballer compared to things, but you just kind of want to know that you've got the knowledge and you can and impact. And a lot of it is ego. You just want people to say, "Wow, your team's playing well. They're playing some great football, fluid," and you aspire to the coaches that you're moving around in circles with and going, "Wow, that's where I want to be." When my lad was when I first started at under sevens, coaching my under sevens, he got invited into this was the Leicester City thing came in, a development centre. So I took him along there, and I knew one of the coaches that was doing it, and he was a level two at that stage, and I thought, wow, nothing against level twos, but at the stage I just thought, wow, that's it. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, he says, "Come on, Lee, you know what you're doing. Come and help us." And I'm like, "Whoa, this is Leicester City here, and you've done your level two. I'll be out of my depth." And he went, "You'll be fine." And I did that, and that was probably one of the best things I did. 5 years, 5 years of being that. Did a couple of bits in the academy, but generally it was a development centre. And that's where you kind of look at people, and then I think you just admire some people, whether that be tutors on the courses that you've done. Um, sometimes it's a bit frightening. You think, "Wow, I'm miles away from that." Um, so yeah, just aspire to be like we did when we were players. You wanted to be a good player. You wanted to have a good reputation. So I think that's all it is. And a lot of mine was I didn't want to give the parents any excuse to say you don't know what you're doing, because if you've got the knowledge and you can prove that you know how the game works and you can coach their kids and you can see how the game plays to a certain level, then they can't come knocking at you saying you don't know what you're doing. So if they see you going on the courses and putting the effort in, then you're trying to better yourself, and you can have no complaint. So I wouldn't say it's worked completely, because you're never going to please every parent, but they can't accuse you of not doing what you're asking the players. You be all in, give 100%, and be all in. So it's just aspiring to be somebody within that, because you move from the playing world, you get forgotten about. Nobody bothered that you used to play and who you used to be. Not there was anybody, but you then want to go into that coaching world and be somebody and be respected. And then you just try and keep going till you get there, and hopefully it works. So that's really why I wanted to do it. The Leicester City was, wow, what we had kids from under sevens to about under 12s doing it on a Monday night for 3.5 hours, and so you learned how to behaviours, connecting with young kids. I didn't realise then how important connecting with players were at that stage, but you got behaviour with excitable 7-year-olds, and then trying to coach them, and then before you know it, you're finishing the night with under 12s, and it's a different ball game. So it's a great thing to do, and it's a real. And Leicester City really helped you. They put certain CPDs on and let you into the academy to watch. And going into an academy and seeing some great coaches, you think, well, that's what I want. Not certainly what I want to be, but that's how I want to hold myself and have that knowledge. So I think it just comes within to drive yourself, really.
I love the fact that you said the drive was to like prove your knowledge to the parents, and I think we all do that. Definitely in the beginning, we like coach in order for everyone to understand how we did, and then as we grow older, we kind of understand that like it's about the player. We're putting that information out there. We want the players then to be able to tell that information to their parents at that dinner table sort of mentality. What did you learn at practice, son? Or that sort of thing. So I think that's really good. And then it goes from then as we grow as a coach to stop being that trainer that just passing on knowledge is, and to the point of being a coach now, where you mentioned about learning how to connect with that child and everything. So that kind of like evolution, if you will, of us as a coach really helps with like building a philosophy. And when we build that philosophy, it's definitely organic. Have you found your philosophy has changed as your career has gone on?
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. Like, I think when you start out, say under sevens or whatever, or you start your coaching journey, you're grasping at anything. You're trying to get as much drills that you can and information. And you just, well, this is a great drill. Completely no good for 7-year-old kids, but like it looks. You're trying to make it look fantastic, but it's not doing anything. And I think as you go on courses, reading books has been fantastic. Good education. Certain books. I read Doug Lemov's Coach's Guide, Teacher's Guide to Coaching, or whatever. Doug Lemov's. If you've not read that, absolutely unbelievable. Blew my mind, that word. Linking teaching to coaching blew my mind. The Gold Dust book by David and Keith Mayer is really worth a read. That's more, not so much, it's not about drills, it's how you make connections to people and body language and talking and stuff like that. So I think at first you're just trying to look good on the grass. That's what you're trying to do, is you want it to look good on the grass and look at me with me clever drills. And then eventually you realise that you've got to connect with these people, whether they be kids or even the parents or just older players. And I think you get that knowledge later on. If you knew that if you're lucky enough and knew that at the very start, then you've done well. But I think you kind of go that as you get to things. And then people recommend books. You go and watch certain coaches, and it's just like you say, it evolves as you go, as you pick with experience. And then eventually I think you get to know what's good, what you need, what you don't need. And then you're just picking from here, there and everywhere. It's knowing where to look. That's the real skill, knowing where to look and what you're looking for. And then just then kind of blending that in. And I think yes, you want to be your own person, but I think we're made up of tutors, books, yourself as a player, experiences. So you're just finding that. You probably never knew where I was then, how I was going to get to here, or even if I was going to become here. And I'm probably now, another 10 years, I'll maybe a different coach. But that comes with the experiences that you get. But it's just, it's an amount of many things that make you where you are.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like I've always likened it to a jigsaw piece. So like when you're starting your career, the board's empty. You've got to start your picture, so you're taking pieces from everywhere. And if you imagine the jigsaw being your life, then obviously slowly but surely you start adding to those pieces. You start understanding where you come in. And if you have that passion, as you said, to pick up that book, to watch that podcast, look at those YouTube videos, go see a coach, go talk to a coach, all these sort of things. You start then taking, say, 10% of what Lee's done, 10% what Todd's done, 10% what Craig's done, and you start editing those percentages then to kind of make your philosophy, your style of play, your system of play, and everything in order to make Lee Cosgrove's philosophy then to make Craig Burtle's ideology of the game. So this is all fantastic stuff.
Let me just
We'll
add
be
in
back,
there. Let me just add in
of
there,
course.
Craig.
Yeah,
Just to go
yeah.
back to you, I like your jigsaw bit. I do love that. That's a great idea. But
You're
sometimes,
gonna steal that one, aren't you?
yeah, I'm stealing that one. But sometimes you get a bit that's from another jigsaw, and you've got it, and you're trying to force it in somewhere. It's not even for that jigsaw; it's for another one. And eventually you
Right.
go, hang on a minute, I don't need that. I thought I needed it,
Yeah.
but I didn't. But not every piece is for the right jigsaw. And eventually you get to learn that you're grabbing for that piece. And if it doesn't fit, then just get rid of it. But knowing that it doesn't, because somebody can be looking for hours trying to make it fit, and it's not going to fit. But yeah, I love that. That's a great little analogy.
Yeah, that's one thing we spoke about online, wasn't it? About how like coaching is grey, it's not black and white. Me and you could both do the exact same session plan with very similar kids, and it actually come out very differently just because of the way we approach it. And it's not to say one area is right and one area is wrong. It's how it works for that particular player. Because I've done session plans that I consider them my bread and butter of my lessons. And I've done him and they've been great. I've done it the following week and I'm like, what in the world happened? It all fell
Yeah.
apart. And it just depends on the situation. So couldn't agree more. We'll be back, Lee, to discuss a little bit more. We're actually going to move on and talk about Sunday Share's 4th-year anniversary and how our listeners can be a part of it after a short message from Zencaster.
Do you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear? Have you struggled with reaching new audiences who are engaged with your story? It might be time for you to start a podcast. Let me tell you about a platform we use here at Session Share. Zencaster makes it super easy to produce a high quality broadcast with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes ums, ahs, you knows, and 22 other speech patterns. Zencaster makes it super easy to produce a podcast that sounds great. Ready to tell your story? Check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencaster.
Welcome back. We're joined with Lee Cosgrove here, and we've been talking about coach education in general. What I want to move on to now, Lee, is a big passion of yours. I mentioned it in the intro about Sunday Share, one of the X pages that I follow very well. You guys offer some great insights and session plans on a regular basis. And I hear that there's a 4th anniversary coming up. Before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit about Sunday Share? How did it start? What was the motivation behind it?
Well, in all honesty, there wasn't any motivation behind it. I might be giving the game away there, but we were in lockdown, so it was January 2020, a complete lockdown, the whole world, no football going on. And then that's where Twitter, as it was known then, was just a great way of still connecting with people and talking football, and just that we weren't getting pitch side or training sessions or changing rooms. And I literally I had one of my golden drills, I think, and I thought, well, I'll put that out there. And people have heard this, but the very first one was called Saturday Share because it just happened to be a Saturday. And then so I put that out, and then the week after it happened to be a Sunday, so I just thought, let's put a hashtag to this, hashtag Sunday Share. Just came in my head, put that out there, and a couple of people commented on it. And then I think it was Rob Porter, really, and another friend of mine, Thomas, the Polish goalkeeper coach, they said, well, I'll do that. So I put the hashtag with it, and I went, yeah, you do that. And it kind of just went from there. And there was no real game model idea of it becoming this thing that it's become. It was just something to keep us going in lockdown. And then it just kind of went from there and escalated from there. Not straight away, but it just kind of going. And then we just, every Sunday I'd do something and other people do it. And people just started joining in. And then because people had bothered to do a Sunday Share, I would then retweet it and make a comment and just kind of pass it on. And then it kind of started, I did it every Sunday for 9 months. And then, but by the time the end of them 9 months, we'd come out of a certain lockdown period where we were allowed to go and play games and everything. And it would just be coming the whole Sunday, like Sunday morning till really Monday morning for the Americans or were behind us. So yeah, that was it. It just became a bit of a community thing, connecting with people. And people just seemed to enjoy it. And then I think the whole idea was I think a lot of people were afraid of putting their drills online or session plans or whatever, because there was a lot of negativity and people say, well, that's not very good. Well, hang on a minute, I'm only a level 1 and it's for under 7s, so, but we made it, when I was doing it on my own, I made sure if anybody came in and started saying anything negative, I'd jump on it. Just say, look, if you haven't got anything positive to say, just leave it. Just let these people get on with it. So we did that. And then after 9 months, I thought, I've got to stop this because it's becoming time consuming. And then Peter Prickett, I know that you've had on, and he said, oh, this is a good thing. Let's keep it going. And I went, too much time. He went, well, if we get some help. So him, Rob, we got Hannah Duncan on. So the 4 of us were doing it then. We've since added Carl Wild's come on board. Hannah left and started playing football at a good level as well. Mark Lyons, who was in the Leicester City Academy, was doing it as well. And now Tony Mee is doing it. So there's now 4 or 5 of us doing it. And here we are 4 years, nearly 4 years later in January. And it's just now become a thing on Sundays, and it just happens every week. And then I kind of started it where everything's free. That's the whole idea. We're not a selling page. Everything's free. If people have got books to sell or sessions that you can pay for, I just say to them, put a free session on there. If you want to put a link on there, do that. But give them something for nothing. And then if people think, I like that, I'll go for it. That's fine. But don't just come and sell your wares on there. It's not like that. And then after the first year, I thought, a bit of an anniversary. And then I've been lucky enough to connect with loads of people that got books and bazooka goals and stuff like that. So we had a bit of a celebration for the first year and the second. So we'd have a big giveaway on the thing here of just prizes, coaching prizes, all sorts of stuff. I mean, we ended up with trips to PSV Eindhoven, to their academy, bazooka goals, God knows what, some unbelievable prizes. And then getting to the anniversary meetup, I went on one of those PSV Eindhoven trips. I went with the winner, Reece Limbert. He won it and me and him went. And because I'd done my B licence 7 years ago, apart from curver courses, they were like the last ones I'd really done. And I love being on a course with coaches, being in the same room with coaches, just chatting and talking and just swapping ideas and information and opinions. And I went on that PSV one and I thought, this is brilliant. I love this. I had a great time with meeting different people from all over the world, all over Europe. And that gave me the idea of having a meetup. It'd been going around my mind for a long time. And then so we did one in August, got the first one to go, and we did it at Walsall FC, which you'll know. Luckily, Rob Williams, I know him quite well from the academy. I asked him if we could have, and we wanted it to be free. We didn't want it to be charging people and having the pressure of selling tickets. So we did one there. Rob was brilliant with us, and Martin Bowles, who's the head of academy, or head of coaching, he did a presentation. So we had about 25 people go there. And then probably 2 or 3 years ago, the England Learning Twitter site did a Sunday share. Actually did the hashtag Sunday share with us, and we all connected with each other because we were on a WhatsApp group saying, "Have you seen that England Learning have done it?" And it was like, "Wow, this is their main site." So they still do it now, almost every week.
That's awesome.
And then when we did the Walsall one, England Learning came and put a presentation on for us. And John Folwell, great bloke from Leicester as well, I know him. He did a great presentation. And I think when he saw what we were trying to do, he said, I mentioned about being blown away with England Learning doing it. And he said, well, let's try and get a room at St. George's Park. I mean, it's the head of coaching for this country. So we've now got one coming up to tie in with the 4th anniversary in January next year that's going to take place at St. George's Park in January.
That is awesome. St. George's Park, what a beautiful facility to play in. That's great.
Yeah, you can't get much better than that. Walsall was good. St. George's Park, the head of there, and that was kind of on my wish list. Do you think if we can get it there? I mean, John's been brilliant. John Forward's been brilliant helping out there to get us there. So it's kind of let's tie it in with the 4th anniversary and see what we can do there. But yeah, I did meet futsal level 2 there, and it's one of them places you go and you can just feel the football there. The tutors are brilliant. The place is brilliant. Just football. It's just football heaven really there. So we've kind of landed on the feet with this one. I still can't believe we've managed to sort it out. So I'm looking forward to that.
So I imagine this one's going to be the biggest out of the 4 then, right?
Well, we're limited on the numbers because they're giving us literally a free room, but you don't get much for free at St George's Park.
That's true.
John's done very well, and he's managed to sort it. So I think it's about 42 places we can get. Again,
Gotcha.
it's going to be for free. We've got Saul Isaacson-Hurst, who's a fantastic one-to-one coach who's doing professional players. He's been in Arsenal, he's been in Tottenham, he's been in Chelsea. He's going to come and do a presentation for us, and then England FA are going to do a presentation on futsal. And we're going to observe some. We released this today. We're going to observe some Premier League Academy futsal games in there as well. So a little tour of St George's Park. So it should be a great day, hopefully.
Fantastic. Can you tell our listeners how they can get involved with it?
Yeah, well, first of all, give the Sunday Share site a follow and join us every week for millions and millions of free resources. What we did was the Walsall one was it's the first one. So when we did that, I was just chuffed that we'd got people to turn up. They come from all over. One chap Colin came from Gibraltar to visit his family in the Midlands, but he still kind of came anyway. So when we was there, we were that blown away that people had put the effort in to come to us that we said, everybody there, you've got first dibs at St George's. So we're giving it them. So some of them have contacted me. But early December, we'll put it out there and it'll go out for those that are interested. And it'll be a case of, can we cater for everybody? If people want to come, there should be enough spaces to hopefully please everybody. But I think we might be oversubscribed once it goes live. But yeah, just join us and we'll just get everybody to contact us and make sure that they're really interested. And we'll go from there. It'll depend on how many people want to come. But it's open to everybody, really.
Sounds good. And for all our listeners, the information that we're talking about will all be in the podcast description when you see this podcast come out. So you'll be able to click on, you'll be able to be invited into Sunday Share on Twitter and find out about all these great things. Lee, we're going to be back after a short break. Be right back.
Do you need fresh ideas for your football, soccer training? Then follow Session Share on YouTube and X. Our handles can be found in the show description. Session Share, for coaches, by coaches.
Welcome back. We just spoke about Lee's passion of Sunday Share. We've spoke about how you created it and how much of a success it is today. Sunday Share, like Session Share, my own exercise YouTube channel, is dedicated to helping coaches grow. With this in mind, what's your best advice that you would give a new coach?
Oh, what a question that is. My advice to coaches would be, one of my passions is observing other coaches. Okay, so I would say to other coaches, just go and watch other coaches. If they can be better than you, it doesn't matter what level they could be. It might be academy, it might be just on the local park, but just go and observe other coaches. Ones that are experienced, see how they set the session up, how they talk, how they dress, the body language, how they talk, because ultimately that's where you're kind of heading. You can't take everything from that, but I don't know, just get the knowledge. Don't be in a rush to get all the knowledge. Just get the bits and pieces that you need. Keep it simple, keep it enjoyable. Connect with those players. That's everything. That if you can't connect with the players, no matter how good your drill is, if if they don't like you, you're not connecting. You're wasting your time. So just make sure that you connect and get a little bit of knowledge. Go and watch others. Keep it simple. Just enjoy it, and don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush, but have a thirst for learning. That's what I would say. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I love that. And one thing we mentioned earlier as well about the courses, that kind of brought on some reminder to me is when you're doing those courses, understand that you can learn as much from the coaches that are on the course as well as the instructions. So one of the things that Lee and I spoke to a little bit when we were offline about the fact that when we're in these environments, don't just learn to pass the course, learn for the sake of learning. And I feel like I, in particular, didn't figure that out until I got on my A license course, where I started realizing that, like, yes, the piece of paper is great. You know what I mean? It's going to help you open doors and everything like that. But if this is truly a passion for you, learn for the sake of learning. Think about, like, when I started doing my A license, and when I did my A license, it was now over a year as opposed to a week, which I felt was so much more beneficial because I took the information I learned and passed it on to my players. And that's when I truly thought I was getting better as a coach, because now I was taking the advice and the information I was giving. And like I said earlier, if it was in a square, I was now shaping it into the ball that I needed. By getting rid of that, like, 3% I didn't agree with, by adding 3% more of what I already knew and stuff like that. So I think that advice that you're giving there, Lee, is spot on. Did you ever given any advice by someone that really affected you all the way through your career?
I was for people who can remember the youth modules. I did
Mm-hmm.
a couple of my youth modules. First, youth module 1 and youth module 2 with a chap who was like head of coaching in Leicester, John Griffiths. He's now, I think he's doing the England under-18 girls team. And I think I'd been on my level 1. And the tutor that was doing it, I don't think he wanted to be there. He wanted to do the level 2, but he didn't have the accreditation to tutor the level 2. And it was a bit of just a bit of a negative kind of thing. I love the course, the old level 1 course. It was face to face, was brilliant. And then John Griffiths, he took them 2 things, and I'm like, that's what a coach looks like. And he had everything. He had all the answers to how the brain works, how children learn, behaviours, let alone all the football stuff. And he was kind of an inspiration to think, that's where I want to head to. And he was brilliant. I was fortunate as well to observe John McDermott, I think's now head of England coaching now, I think. He was Tottenham then. And I went to Loughborough University to watch him do a 4-hour session with the Tottenham under 14s, 15s. And the attention to detail, the voice, and how he demanded stuff and stuff like that. So I think you just take them bits from there. You don't try and copy them, but they were the ones. Amongst other things, the chap I know who did the Leicester City thing, that was a level 2. You know, he was football mad as well, and I kind of picked bits and pieces off him. So, and then a while ago, the FA did some mentoring where they had mentors that come into clubs. And I remember going to my club, it was OB House at the time. I'd only just started under 7s, and the FA had assigned a tutor and a mentor for the club. And we sat in this meeting, and nobody put their hand up. And I'm going, okay, I felt embarrassed for this chap. I went, I'll have a bit of that. And so I was mentored 2 or 3 times, and they were fantastic. They were really helpful. So I think it's those people above you that you want to try and emulate and try and copy, shall we say. They're the ones that drive you on. Sometimes you get yourself in a situation you think, well, what would they do? How would they handle this? How would they handle this? I don't know, somebody playing you up, or the drill falling down, or whatever. But so yeah, I think there's a few people along the way that you've looked at. This is coaching courses. We can talk about pep and style of football, but that's just a little bit further on there. But actually being a coach, I think every coach will say they've been on and they've been a tutor. that's helped them, or like a mentor or something like that, or they've been in and watched some coaches at academies. So they're the ones that inspire you to be better, so I would say.
I love that, and I've always loved the courses where, as I mentioned earlier, about that shade of grey when it comes to coaching. Tovo Academy is a big one that I love. I loved the old-fashioned NSCAA in America. It's now called United Soccer Coaches. And the reason I loved like the Premier Diploma that I did over here, for example, was because the instructor said to us, "I'm not going to foul you on based on it being right or wrong, because there is that room for debate. Like my 4-3-3 could be very different to your 4-3-3, and so on." And the way he worded it was, "I'm going to pass you as long as you convince me that works for you." So like we got like the Subudio players out, we got like the boards out, we got the players out on the field, everything like that on the pitch. And as long as you could prove the fact that this way of coaching will resonate with the player, it will help the team and everything like that, you got the pass. And I like that because it wasn't just a case of now you ankle lock your foot to receive a pass, like the black and white of coaching, because it's now when you're talking about systems, you talk about formations, styles, everything like that. There's more than one way to skin a cat. When you look at, you mentioned people earlier, people who emulate Guardiola or people that emulate Ancelotti or Mourinho. These are very different styles of coaching, but three of the most successful coaches we've ever had in history. As simple as that. So I love that. And Lee, we're going to finish off with a bit of a lighter note. Can you tell us what your favourite moment in sports is? It could be anything, as a player, as a fan, or a coach.
Ooh, I think that I think a massive part of me trying to be the coach I am is because I'm coaching my son, and I want him to have a better. I had a great experience when I was younger, but I want my son to be a better technical player and enjoy his football with his mates more than anything else. So it'll be linked to probably watching either him and his team play. I think when your teams, we probably won, if we've won 2 or 3 games, I think that's how I want them to play. That's what I've taught them. It's all come together, a real pressure game, and they've just played the football that you see in your head. And it's not Barcelona 2012. It's your version of that. And when you see that happen in front of you, and you've not driven it yourself because you've been joysticking and screaming and shouting and moving players, if you can sit back, and I've stood back sometimes and just watched my team play with that instruction, and they're the moments that you think this is where it's come together. Yes, we've won leagues, we've won cups, but just sometimes performances that have like just, you've just gone, wow, we've got it. We've been fortunate enough. My team's been into Leicester City Academy a couple of times, and we've played their like shadow squads or their academy teams, but maybe a year below us. And I've been gone in there really nervous, thinking, "Oh, this could be nasty tonight." And they've absolutely blown me away. They've just got their heads on it and played. And I remember somebody's parents who'd not been to watch it a long time, and her son, she came over and went, "Wow, that was unbelievable. That was unbelievable." She said, that's proper football. The last time I come and watched, they were just kicking the ball around and running around. So it's them little moments that you just think, you know what, that's a part of me. All that time and effort is now shown itself in a football match. And, or just them little comments like I think you mentioned earlier about being a Spanish coach. Somebody's come over and said, they look a well-drilled side. They look fluid side. It's just them little moments. So, yeah, you could say winning the league might be one. But just when you've had a total performance and you think, you know what, they have learnt it, they have listened, and they've got it. And probably I can't pick one out, but there's been a few times when I've just gone, wow, that's brilliant. That's made my day. So
That's brilliant. As a dad of three boys myself, I totally get the fact that when you see them thrive, it's so rewarding. Probably even more so than what you did as a player or you did as a coach. I think it sums it up. And to wrap it up, connecting it back to Leicester City, when Peter Schmeichel was asked what his most impressive thing in sports was for his life, he responded when Kasper Schmeichel won the Premier League. And you think Peter Schmeichel's done it all. He's won the European Championship with Denmark, Premier Leagues, Champions League with Manchester United. And yet seeing his own son lift the Premier League title was the most rewarding for him. So I think that sums it up brilliantly. Well, Lee, thank you so much for your views and your insights. I've found this very beneficial, and I'm sure our listeners will agree. Um, we will put all Lee's details in the social media to drag on to Sunday Share. We'll put that in all in the descriptions of the podcast. Thank you very much, Lee, for joining us on Session Share, the Coaches Podcast. Be sure to get in touch with us across all socials that we have discussed. You can find them in our celebration in our platform description. Best of luck, Lee, with Sunday Share and the celebration coming up. This has been Session Share, the Coaches Podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you all for coaching the beautiful game.